So what's going to happen with The Last of Us Part 2? The internet community is up in arms about the game, and the leaks have spread far and wide, and everyone who is aware of the leaks is very, very unhappy with them. However, this isn't the whole story. We have, of course, the normie audience. Like, what are the normie audience going to do with The Last of Us Part 2 when it comes out? Well, I expect we're going to see a repeat of the Death Stranding situation, or maybe the Final Fantasy VII-R situation, in which game journalists will do everything in their power to try and damage control the game. And it's going to be a while before the public is aware that the game is a significant step down from the original. I'm expecting maybe a couple of weeks. Like, maybe I'm expecting this game will probably sell a couple of million the first few weeks, and then word will get out how terrible it is, and that will sort of bleed into the mainstream and really, really start to eat into sales. And in the long run, I think, is when where The Last of Us Part 2 is really going to falter, because it's not going to win Game of the Year awards, not, at least not legitimately. It's not going to, well, the original didn't win legitimate awards. People aren't going to accept The Last of Us winning awards or getting attention from game journalists the way they did with the original. It's simply too controversial. So what's going to happen there is that the knowledge of how terrible this game is going to go far and wide, and in the hardcore gaming community, it's going to be commonly accepted that Naughty Dog is full of frauds. Like, Neil Druckmann in particular is basically setting himself up to Sean Murray himself. Now, I know Sony has been running a shill campaign to try to salvage No Man's Sky and protect Sean Murray and try to make him out to be based and red pilled. But I think the long and short of it is that, like, his image did kind of stick, right? Like, without No Man's Sky, without that big budget game, right? That big budget PlayStation exclusive, like, he didn't have any credibility left. And I think that's going to be it for Druckmann and Naughty Dog as well, is that people at large are going to understand that the series, Naughty Dog, the developer, and the PlayStation brand is going downhill. And so this is going to lead into the PlayStation's next stage, the next life cycle, the next console generation. The Last of Us Part 2 was meant to be one of the late major AAA releases for PlayStation 4, and it was obviously they were obviously going to do a repeat of what they did last generation, where they just re-released the game for the next generation console with additional content and features to try and pad out the console library. When they try to do that with The Last of Us Part 2 on the PlayStation 5, it's going to be a disaster, because no one is going to want to go out and get the game. Like, do people want to see like Joel get murdered with a golf club in a Triple HD? Like, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think people are going to line up and get fucked over again with The Last of Us Part 2. I don't think most audience members are willing to accept what they're doing here. I expect it's going to be a Ghostbusters 2016 situation, in which the media is going to treat this like it's some masterpiece, and the people, everyone who hates the media is, basically everyone who isn't them is going to stand up and fight back against it. And I am sitting here, like, already telling you, like, be ready for it. Like, be ready for their narrative changes, their justifications, their explanations, their damage control, their shilling. Like, be prepared for all of that. Like, no, this is not acceptable. This is not what we wanted. This is not what we want going forward. This is not acceptable. Really, if you want to avoid this kind of thing, just go to Nintendo. I would be very surprised if Ghost of Tsushima, which a lot of people are shilling right now, rather than the Nintendo console, which you should be doing, which you should be playing. Ghost of Tsushima, I'm sure, will have something similar. Like, maybe not to the same extreme extent, but it will be present in some form or another. It's laughable to see people. ignore the core problem. Like, it's PlayStation. It's always been PlayStation. I don't understand why people aren't acknowledging this. Like, it's not just Naughty Dog. Sony allowed this to happen. PlayStation allowed this to happen. If you don't like what Naughty Dog has done with The Last of Us Part 2, you have no business owning a Sony PlayStation.